Kemper. I'm gonna show you guys my setup.
We don't stop. Yo, hit it with a high and a low. Now back way, are you ready for the bass? My DJ, yo, get on the case. Hyper with the lights on, no fuss, no fighter. Get hyper. When I'm on the rhythm with the lyrical flow. When I'm on the rhythm, we don't stop.
Say nothing. Better not say nothing.
When I'm on the rhythm, we don't stop. Yo, hit it with a high and a low. Now back way, are you ready for the bass? My DJ, yo, get on the case. Hyper with the lights on, no fuss, no fighter. Get hyper. When I'm on the rhythm with the lyrical flow. When I'm on the rhythm, we don't stop. Let's go, baby!
It's the guts! It's the glory! It's the championship for FaZe! And Dog gets a victory royal!
When I'm on the rhythm with the lyrical flow. Yo, hit it with a high and a low. Now back way, are you ready for the bass? My DJ, yo, get on the case. Now back way, are you ready for the bass? My DJ, yo, get on the case. Hyper with the lights on, no fuss, no fighter. Get hyper. When I'm on the rhythm with the lyrical flow. When I'm on the rhythm, we don't stop.
There you go.
Yo, hit it with a high and a low. Now back way, are you ready for the bass? My DJ, yo, get on the case. Hyper with the lights on, no fuss, no fighter. Get hyper. When I'm on the rhythm with the lyrical flow. When I'm on the rhythm, we don't stop.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, how's everyone doing? Hope you like the energy in the room. You guys are so awesome for being with us today. This is an interview I've been looking forward to forever, ever since I met up with the FaZe Clan crew in Portugal a few months ago. So Lee, thank you for taking some time for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
So watching that sizzle reel, you get the sense that FaZe Clan is a little bit of everything, right? It's an entertainment company, it's an esports company, it's an events company, it's a branding company, it's a celebrities company, it's everything. But how would you explain what FaZe Clan is to the average everyday person who might not be as closely following all of the stuff that you do?
So, we're a lifestyle and media platform. We're rooted in gaming. We come from gaming originally, but really we're a youth culture brand overall. And I think part of that is at one point, gaming lifestyle and gaming culture became youth culture, became synonymous with youth culture once gaming kind of really exploded. And so, I like to think that we played an important part of that. I don't think we were the only ones. I think there was a big movement. There's a lot of kind of a huge community behind it. But really, I think we consider ourselves a youth culture brand.
And when you see some of your favorite athletes or celebrities rocking the FaZe Clan logo,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Look, you see it, we're humbled to see that at times. It's amazing that people kind of rep us that way. And I think that what it represents is kind of an aspirational, highly aspirational brand. I think that it's not only aspirational, but also has like a vibe of like a cool air and something that's like driving the culture. So I think I think part of it is even when I know other people in my company are the same thing. Like when we're out and about wearing something FaZe related, the way people come up to us and talk to us about it, it's like there's like an element of like, it's a little bit of an old movie, but like Fight Club, where it's like you kind of know, like where people kind of pull up to you and they're like, FaZe Clan, and it's like you're in the know of this, look, I think what's amazing is there's still a lot of people that still don't know it, which I really is kind of exciting. But we, huge community and just a lot of people that kind of rep it and love to see it being repped.
Okay, but the difference between FaZe Clan and Fight Club is that the number one rule here is not that we don't talk about it. We are
true.
here, we're on stage.
That's right.
So, but you bring up a good point, right? Which is that not everybody knows what FaZe Clan is.
Yeah.
Even though it's a massive brand, right? You're planning an IPO, it's reportedly at $1 billion. I mean, this is a big company. So why don't more people know about it?
Well, I think it started from, if you rewind a few years ago, really nobody knew about it except our community and the gaming community, right? Which is it's a massive, vibrant community, but I think it was, until even 18 months ago, 2 years ago, kind of detached from the traditional world. So we've been spending the last couple of years really introducing ourselves to the more traditional world, the less tapped in world. I mean, look, we're a legacy brand in the space. We're nearly a 12-year-old brand. And so within the gaming community, we're very widely known. And now I would say within kind of business community and entertainment, we're really become a household name in those businesses. But there are still people that don't know about us, which to me is, I get excited about that, because what it shows is there's so much more room to grow, to like keep on with our message and being kind of missionaries for honestly kind of driving what Gen Z and what youth culture is doing, and exploring what that is, using new technology, using new platforms. So I think we're like in this constant state of reinvention for ourselves, and we're continuing to communicate that to a wider and wider audience in all different types of ways.
How much of that is a burden on you and FaZe Clan versus a burden on the entire esports and sort of youth culture industry to be communicating much more to legacy media platforms, older generations, et cetera?
So, I mean, to be honest, I've never felt like we should wait or even could wait for anybody else to help us. I think that the way we've moved, and again, now I think we really consider ourselves youth culture broadly, but let's even rewind a couple of years ago where we're much more kind of narrowly focused on gaming. And I think my view is it's up to us to break every ceiling. It's up to us to kind of break every message, really because we've swung a bigger bat than most of other gaming organizations, right? A lot of other gaming organizations are very heavily esports. Like most gaming organizations are heavy esports. We're heavy esports, and then plus other things, right? We derive sort of our massive fan base and our cultural significance from the content creator side. So really, the entertainment side is, I think that, let me almost back up to dispel something that not everybody understands, right? So again, competitive esports, super important to the scene, ever growing. We take it, really seriously. We're currently, champions of two of the most important esports out there, Call of Duty and Counter-Strike. We have 12 esports teams. But the thing that I think is surprising for some people is, while esports is vibrant and growing, it's gaming as an entertainment platform that is more popular, right? Sometimes what I'll say to people is, in this world, in gaming, the Harlem Globetrotters are more popular than the Lakers, right? And the people that are, the gamers that are most popular are the ones that are phenomenal entertainers. They're great at gameplay, and gameplay becomes the backdrop, but really the reason why they're immensely popular, and by virtue of the number of those that type of gaming talent that we have, why we're so popular is because of our YouTubers and our streamers. And that's really where the majority of the action is within gaming. Again, I want to still say that esports super critical and growing, but it's the gaming as entertainment which is really the big mover.
I want to make an analogy for you.
Okay.
Tell me if this is off, but I think it could help folks in the audience understand your brand a little better. People that are obsessed with yoga and the yoga movement and yogi tea and balance, they're typically people who are proud to rock Lululemon.
Okay.
Would you say the same thing would be for FaZe Clan and esports and youth culture? If you are into, Gen Z youth culture and media and esports and gaming, FaZe Clan is like the brand you want to associate yourself with?
I would say so. I would say we're not the only ones. I mean, there are other great brands in the space, but I don't think there's anybody that kind of touches the scale of our reach. But also part of it is the reason why FaZe holds this special place. And again, I mentioned it was a legacy brand. It's that the fan base, the community watched. Essentially, it was 4 guys that met on Xbox, right? They didn't meet, they met on Xbox initially, got to know each other via Xbox, and decided to forego school, forego work, and when no one had done so previous to them, decided they're going to try to make this a career. And so for the last kind of nearly 12 years, you have people watching them go from something that was beloved, right? Gaming is beloved by the gaming community, but they took that passion for gaming and they said, we're actually going to turn this into something different. We're going to turn this into something significant for us. And they were rewarded with fame and with money, and they drove this movement, they drove this community. And so that's a moment in time. And one of the ways I make a comparison to, you talk about analogies, and I remember when I first made this analogy, I was so sheepish about it because it sounded so blasphemous. And then when I heard a couple of other people that were part of the community, other part of the community say it, I felt a little better. But I compared it to hip hop, where hip hop was, started as a music genre. If you rewind to, back to when hip hop was kind of birthed, nobody thought it was going to stick around. People thought it was a fad. Nobody had the proper respect for both the performers and the writers and the people breaking that scene. And eventually hip hop became culture itself, right? And so there's a parallel there, right? And again, I was sheepish about it until I heard people like Jimmy Iovine, who founded Interscope, and hip hop was, he's a big figure in hip hop, and Sylvia Rohn, who's a legendary music exec, also super fundamental in the growth of hip hop. Also kind of said it, and I felt much better about it. But it's that parallel, and so you have this massive amount of fans that watch these kids go from nothing to the heights of achievement in front of their eyes. And so I think that's why FaZe Clan holds this really unique place within gaming culture, and impossible to replicate. Doesn't mean that there are not some great brands around us, but we're just uniquely positioned because of that history. It's
funny you say that. I was moderating an esports panel this morning, and one of the things that the panelists said was that if you try to enter esports right now, you're late. Like the market is too crowded to do that. Do you think that's the case?
Look, you're never too late if you do things right. And that's like, there's tons of businesses that are really crowded and tons of industries that are really crowded. And like sometimes the people who think there can be no challengers, they're the ones that are open to being challenged. And so I would not say it's too late, but it's a long road to hoe, and don't think it's going to be something quick. And you can enter esports more quickly, but what's critical, I think, from a business standpoint and from a brand standpoint is you've got to build a community that supports you in sort of a really three-dimensional ways. That is not, if it's just about the competition, then you may have achieved something, but you really haven't achieved the depth of what's available to you in this community. It's why gaming is, I think it's why gaming is so rich and robust, is that it's not just what happens on the field, right? It's really much more about all of the things that surround it, surround gamers, surround gaming lifestyle. Like we talk about, we say things like gaming adjacent, which I don't know, it just means like what things that gamers are into, which is kind of everything, right? Which is why I think we've really evolved into a youth culture brand with gaming at its core.
That evolution is key from a business perspective, because if you look at esports as an industry, I think the latest estimates are that it's like $1 billion. It's not massive.
Yeah.
But entertainment, streaming rights and advertising and sponsorships, that's massive, and that's your business.
Right.
So can you walk me through what your business actually looks like? How does FaZe Clan as a company make money?
So number of different ways. At the moment, predominantly sponsorship is really big. We've got blue chip sponsors like McDonald's and Nissan, and we've had Beats before. So that's a big part and an ever growing part of our business. Consumer products are a big part and meaningful part of the business. Historically for us, that's been apparel. But we're starting to branch out. Like for example, we're entering gaming peripherals. That's something that we're really excited about, and we think we're going to go deeper and deeper into having a wider array of consumer products. We have kind of a super dope collab with this company Zuru, where we have these blasters. Shout out to Tav for bringing that in. And it's the first time FaZe has been in retail. Like we're in Target, and it's like and the way we've seen the product fly has been eye-opening to us.
Wait, what is the product?
It's like a blaster. It's like a dart gun, or little balls. It shoots balls and stuff. So it's cool. It feels very FaZe Clan. Like we're able to shoot some cool content around it, and we'll probably have some more offerings with Zuru also. Okay,
so you're getting into sponsorships. You are getting into more commerce, retail. What about licensing? Do you license your brand for other people?
So that Zuru deal is really kind of a licensing deal, since they handle the rest of it. I think that we've been holding that license and the IP close to our vest at the moment, because we've just wanted to be in control, in greater control as we're building and defining the brand, right? And it's like there's like two constituents that we continue to define the brand for. There's our community, right, which they're the most tapped into who we are, but it's important to evolve also, right? When you're, again, we're nearly 12 years, you have to be in a constant state of evolution while still serving what's important to your core. And then the other community we're serving, that as we both articulate the brand and continue to evolve and build the brand, is kind of the business community and the partner community, right? So, and there are things that we've done along the way to help define who we are to people outside the community, right? Take something like Sports Illustrated. Right? Sports Illustrated was less for our community, although I think we were surprised at how excited they were about it, and even the gaming community. It felt like we had accomplished something for gaming.
What was it, like a profile?
It was a cover story.
Okay.
I mean, we were on the first esports team to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It's kind of like the magazine of record around sports. And I think part of what was cool is there was no debate on whether esports athletes are athletes. It was more about we were redefining what it meant to be a team, and that was really a kind of an exciting way to introduce us to a broader and more traditional audience. So. We're still developing that, but you will see more licensing from us in the future.
And you keep talking about your community and the audience. Can you just define that? What's the demographics? How many people? Is it global, local? What does it look like?
So we're, if you look at us from like a social media footprint, we have about an aggregate of 400 million followers. Obviously, those are not all uniques, right? There's overlap in there, but it's a really big network
Across all of the different personalities and FaZe?
That's right. And as far as the global makeup, we're 50% North America and 50% outside of North America. So, we've got a massive following outside of where we really are in the conversation. Like, I actually think we have not done enough outreach to our fans and to territories outside of North America. Part of that was the pandemic. We had, we kind of put the brakes on some things, but we've got teams around the world. A big part of our upcoming strategy is really kind of boots on the ground around the world. We're looking at kind of, planting flags in a number of different regions, and we'll be operating out of those regions to speak to kind of a broader international fan base.
One thing that's so interesting about esports is you have these broad international fan bases, but that makes live events kind of tricky. Somebody who loves FaZe Clan can't just come to Worlds or whatever it is halfway around the world. It's harder for them. Whereas if I'm a local sports fan, shout out to any Jets fans here, you can just get in your car, I know, rough. You can just get in your car and go to the Jets game because you're a local fan. So how do you, cross that, trying to make sure the international folks feel engaged, even though they're physically kind of far away from where you're based?
So, I'd make a comparison to some of the soccer clubs that have broad international audiences, and it's the same problem that they have. But also what I'll say is, at this point in time, the live events in this space, they're not driving massive engagement. And again, I'll kind of call out the pandemic, put a little bit of a, slowed that process down. I think that tournaments were starting to gain a head of steam, and that obviously had a chilling effect on it. I think events are going to grow. I think tournaments are going to grow. I think for us, like, we also even think of like what kind of events should we be doing, right? Like, and it, again, pandemic stopped some of the inbound, but like we had inbound a couple of years ago where everybody had this, some bright idea about what a gaming festival looked like. And these were all people that had, real receipts, had done things in the past, and that everybody that came in and sat with us, we're always like, that's not it. That's not it. And I think we talk about even for ourselves, like, what is it? What would that kind of event be for FaZe Clan, right? That's not just tournament. There are people creating tournaments and we participate all the time, but we think that there's an opportunity for something more unique, something different, but quite frankly, we're still figuring out what that is and how to kick that off.
So you're still figuring that part of your business out, but obviously you're growing the other aspects of your business, commerce, retail, et cetera. You're gearing up for an IPO, and it's a special kind of IPO. It's through sort of like a blank check company. Why are you deciding to go public now? And why are you deciding to go public via this blank check company, via SPAC, when right now SPACs seem to be a little bit more volatile?
Yeah, look, SPACs are definitely volatile at the moment. I think for a company like ours, the feature of the SPAC that really works for us is you're allowed to talk about kind of the future of the business and where you're going, which is different than a traditional IPO where you're not. And I think with a business like ours that is new for most people and certainly new for a Wall Street community, I think you have to be able to educate the marketplace on what we do and where we're going. And look, the reasoning around doing the SPAC also is we've been growing super fast. I mean, again, the brand is a mature brand, but the business is a pretty recent business. The business is, I would say just 4 years old, and has largely been playing catch up to the brand. The brand was big while we were really starting to form the business itself. and while we were forming the business, we were also advancing the brand. So we've been in this constant state of this business trying to catch up with the size and the scale and the brand, which, frankly, it's a high class problem. Right, that the brand keeps growing to a certain size, that that we're constantly feeling like that the business part of it is catching up. And what I'll say is for our community, that's probably better, right? Like the fact that it's kind of brand first and brand growth first.
One of the advantages of doing a SPAC is that you can raise a lot of money up front. And this is great for companies that are in build mode, right? Because they can either spend it on buying other companies, buying brands, acquiring talent. Like, what do you plan to do with your SPAC cash?
I think first and foremost is investing in talent, brand, community. Those are like, I think it's banks called it like the holy trinity. I think, investing in that, which also means content, investing in content and both on the type of content that we've been known for, which is kind of on platform, as well as creating new IP and expanding IP creation and bringing things off platform. That's a big part of what we're looking to use the funds for. I think M&A is something that we're really interested in. There are some cool brands that we've already been eyeing that we think could could benefit from being connected to our platform. I think that's what's exciting about what we are is we're like a company of dreamers. We got a few of us here, literally, we sit and kind of dream up the future and then sometimes just will it into existence. But that's why I think platform describes us best, is because there's so many different ways we can express the brand and then as a byproduct monetize the brand and monetize those opportunities.
Okay, selfishly, as a business reporter, I just have to ask, what kinds of brands are you thinking about for M&A?
Well, we're thinking about the consumer product brands. We've let's see, I never know what I'm allowed to say. We've looked at other things more specifically in gaming, either assets or things more than just assets. But I think consumer products, there's some really interesting things. Also some other picks and shovel type businesses for around the scene that we look at, and we're starting to look at Web3 and where there might be opportunities there for M&A. I think that's Web3 is something that we're unbelievably excited about.
Let's talk about Web3. So everyone has a different version or definition of Web3. Some people think it's the metaverse. Some people think it's telehealth, right? What do you think of when you say Web3?
First and foremost, I think about the technology that's leveraged in different ways. I think there's an interesting parallel going on in the debate around Web3, which very much mimics the debate around gaming that we had experienced. And forget about my time, I've been with FaZe for 6 years and change, but when I talk to some of the original founders, the really early days are truly emblematic of the type of debate of the validity, the questioning the validity of Web3 was similar to questioning the validity of gaming. Where I look at that, it's that's questioning whether the sun will rise in the east. It's the technology exists. How it'll be deployed will depend on all of us utilizing it. It'll be deployed in ways that are harmful, as we have plenty of examples of, and it'll be deployed in ways that'll be revolutionary. And so I think what I'm probably most excited about, I'm excited about a few different things around Web3, but one of the things that I'm really excited about is, ultimately, we have this, we're talking about this massive community and fan base that we have, but really that sort of last millimeter of the relationship isn't owned by us. In between, I don't have my phone, usually I'll put my phone in between you and I to illustrate the point, but between sort of FaZe Clan and its community are centralized bodies. I use centralized because it's a big part of the Web3 discussion. Centralized authorities like YouTube, Instagram, Activision, TikTok, keep filling in the blanks. And, those entities, those centralized entities own that relationship, and they dictate a lot of things about that relationship. They dictate what kind of content we can put out in the manner of that. They dictate how we communicate with each other and whether and the manner of how our fans can communicate back to us. They dictate whether and how we can monetize that relationship, and they can kick off any of our fans and they can kick us off. And so I think Web3 provides us an opportunity to have an actual direct relationship with our community that is bespoke. And it's and the only people that will govern what that relationship is us and our community. And we can decide together, and and we don't have some centralized body to dictate or to change their mind as to how we've been enjoying that relationship and say, no, sorry, we're turning that feature off. Or things like that. So I think that's really exciting. I think what's happening with gaming in the Web3 space is going to be absolutely revolutionary. And and I think I think FaZe is so uniquely positioned to capitalize on where we are in gaming and in culture. And I think it's kind of another thing that a lot of people don't get about the Web3 scene is how kind of culture and artist-driven it is. It's actually more artist-driven than tech-driven. Obviously, tech is the backdrop of it, but really the scene is all culture. And so I think that's why we've been able why we actually feel both comfortable and welcomed into that scene is because we just fit. Right, and I think that the opportunity for us to play a central role within gaming within that ecosystem is really an exciting opportunity. And normally having to compete with sort of the titans that run games like whoever, Microsoft, Sony, Activision, it'd be hard to compete with those as far as kind of creating an ecosystem around gaming. But I think what's exciting and what is a great opportunity for us is those type of businesses are anathema to this scene, right? This is not a scene that wants to play with, again, huge centralized authoritative bodies. And so I think that creates an unbelievable opportunity, and where we're having really such exciting conversations with some of the pioneers in the Web3 scene.
Okay, so talk to me about that tech that is going to connect you to your community, because it's not like you're going to all be sitting in the same room at the same time. Something is going to have to bind you. So is it like non-fungible tokens and NFTs? Is it you creating your own live stream platforms? Like, what is the tech that's going to replace those centralized bodies like the Instagrams and the Twitches?
Yeah, I think via an NFT is a great solution. I think ultimately it's the difference between kind of logging into your Instagram account and then you follow us. It's you connect your wallet to us, and then we can use that connectivity for whatever we want. Right? Whether that's, whether to supply you with content, supply you with access, supply you with really, again, whatever we can dream of to to evolve that, right? Like however it starts, that's always, that's part of what I think is so cool about this space is, people are building the plane while they're flying the plane, which is also a very FaZe Clan thing to do. We've been doing that for years, but so I think that starts with the connectivity, and then we can continue to add value within that relationship.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions that we got here was about advice that you're giving to brands entering Web3, and I want to ask, what advice do you give to them given a lot of skepticism and distrust around things like privacy, around things like security online? You just mentioned giving someone access with their wallet. I mean, that takes a lot of trust. So should brands feel like Web3 is going to be secure enough for all of that?
You're talking about brands?
Brands and consumers.
Yeah, well, look, I actually think we've already started to play a role in bringing brands into Web3. We did it in December with Marriott. We threw a really cool party at Art Basel, which was kind of our coming out party into the scene, and we did a drop, actually a physical jersey drop with Artifact, and that was cool. And then brought Marriott into it, and we had some kind of up and coming artists create NFTs for them, and so that really worked well, and it resonated with them, and we're in conversations with other brands as to how does it look like for us to help them connect to this world, which is similar to how brands have been using us previously, right? Brands come to us because we have an ability to connect with Gen Z and an understanding how to connect with Gen Z in a way that most brands don't understand. Every new youth generation has a twist on the previous generation, but Gen Z has started with nearly a blank canvas, and I think that the reasoning is pretty simple. Gen Z is the first generation to kind of grow up with a fully formed internet, and so as a result, the things that Gen Z cares about and doesn't care about is just very different, and it's based on the tools that they had when they were growing up, And I think also like one of the biggest distinctions that's really connected to the conversation around Web3 is for Gen Z. The distinction between their physical existence and their digital existence is paper thin, whereas people from my generation, like your physical, life and your digital life feels like there's a gulf between those. And that's just not the case. And you also talk about the metaverse. I think sometimes people think about metaverse as like some singular destination, whereas I think about it as, like consuming or being present in a digital environment, and I would say that's already existing. And for some people, their digital life is more important than their physical life. I actually would think influencers are even a key example of that, right? Where the curated life that they present on whatever platform they're on, right, or all the platforms that they're on, that's actually much more important than who they are sitting at home or sitting in the coffee shop, right? And it's curated, it's a brand that's built, and so the amount of time that people are spending on Instagram, on YouTube, so to me, that they've already entered the hallway going to a more robust digital environment that people would consider the metaverse.
Wanted to just follow up on something you said. Gen Z, there's things they care a lot about and don't. Quickly, like what don't they care about? What do they care about?
So the one example that I like to give is, for let's say my generation and most generations, the getting your driver's license was a seminal moment of adolescence, right? And it's because it's synonymous with freedom, right? And it's like, I know, your friend groups knows who amongst the friend is going to be the first one to get the license, and it unlocks a world because now you can be mobile and you can go places. And there's a lot of, I think, nostalgia that surrounds that moment and crossing that threshold. But if you're born at a time where you've got Uber and Lyft, all of a sudden a driver's license is no longer synonymous with freedom. Yes, it's one other way to access freedom, but it doesn't have that like singular thought in your head of like driving and counting the days and the minutes till you can get in your car and go wherever you want, because you can just pick up your phone, pull up an Uber, and you're on your way well before you have access to a license. And so for Gen Z, like that nostalgia is just like wiped out. It's not like a slow descent, it's like an off switch, and it just doesn't matter.
And would their seminal moment be like the day they get a cell phone?
I'm sure that is the selling. That I would say that replaces it, and maybe even is 10x that feeling, because the difference is, well, maybe it's actually directly analogous, right? It's like you get your license and you have access to the world, whereas when you get your phone, you have access to the world, right? Like, so it's a good comparison.
It'll take like some anthropologist psychoanalysis to understand what unlocking that world means for people getting phones, which is typically like 12 versus the license at 17.
Well, I think that's probably what informs sort of the debate that parents have around when to hand over the phone, because when you unlock access to the world, you also lose the ability to manage that really closely. And so that's, it's a key. The phone ends up being a key to unlock a very big door.
Can't even imagine. Let's talk about women in esports. Obviously, the industry under indexes in women.
Yep.
What are you doing about it? Is it important to FaZe Clan? How do you think the industry evolves?
It's important to FaZe Clan. I'll say historically, I don't think we've done enough. I think we've signed women. We've got a few in the queue that you might be hearing about soon. But frankly, I don't think we've done as much as we could or we should. I think that the environment is getting better for women, but there's a long way to go.
And then in terms of your ambitions into entertainment broadly, I know we talked a little bit about like YouTube and developing content, but is FaZe Clan something that one day we're going to have FaZe Clan branded TV shows and movies and FaZe Clan branded games? I know you're holding that IP close to your chest, but I look at brands like Marvel that are getting into the movie scene. Mattel is getting into the movie scene with Barbie. Like, why couldn't that be FaZe Clan? I
mean, it certainly could be FaZe Clan and likely will be FaZe Clan. I think that we have an opportunity to kind of bring our attitude and our point of view to content, right? As much as I've historically talked about kind of the declining viewership of traditional media like film and television, which is in decline, right? Like, there's a stat that came out last year that the question was, what's your entertainment choice? What's your number one entertainment choice? And for Gen Z, the number one choice was video games. By like a huge margin. It was like 26%, and then number 2 was music at 14%. Number 5, combined movies and television, right? Combined. And so, but that doesn't mean that I think Gen Z doesn't care about it. I think that the opportunity for us is to maybe bring kind of our understanding of what Gen Z as an audience cares about and bring that into long form content.
Right now, content can also be a marketing vehicle. Like, are you thinking about things like podcasts, getting your stars out there on those types of channels? Yeah,
we've done, we've dabbled in podcast. We actually had an interesting conversation. Again, I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about sometimes, but we were kind of talking about podcasting in a Web3 environment, which seems like, again, what's like almost just the beginning thread of an idea that we started talking about. We're launching long form content on Twitch. Like we're about to launch something called it's Phase 1. It's kind of our global search for content creators. We've done it before. We did it a couple years ago as Phase 5, where we recruited 5 members. This year we're doing it as recruiting only 1 member, and we're going to do much more significant production around it. It'll be a Twitch show. The top 20 are going to live in the Phase warehouse, and we're going to live stream it 24 hours a day for 15 days, and there'll be all sorts of challenges, and so we've really amped up production around that. The winner not only gets not only becomes a FaZe member, but gets $1 million in crypto, gets a sponsorship deal, a car. We're really looking to change somebody's life.
Oh my God.
And that's going to be that we're running that on Twitch, and then we've got another show that we're launching right on its heels called Unfazed. I can't talk about who's hosting that yet, right? Okay. We've got a really exciting host for that, and it's a new concept that we're bringing to Twitch, whereas it'll be kind of an afternoon block of programming. Like, think of a 4-hour after-school block of programming where we have all kinds of little pieces of content and recurring things, and all different. We're experimenting in a lot of different ways, but we're looking at kind of more premium content and expanding our content offering.
I have so many questions. Okay, first, is there an age limit in being a part of this Phase 1 competition?
There is not.
Okay, because I could use a car. 2.
Come on. Is it closed? Can submissions closed already? I think you're gonna have to wait till next year.
Okay.
But
Don't tell my boss.
we'll send you an email. We'll give you a heads up.
Done. It feels like American Idol meets Big Brother. It's interesting. 2, you mentioned Twitch for both of these.
Yeah.
Is Twitch like your primary entertainment platform? There's been debates about Facebook gaming and YouTube gaming. Like, which ones are you relying on?
So, Twitch is just native to our community, and we think it fits for how to launch this. What happens what happens next year? I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how. We're not committing long term to where this place live. Where these shows live, but we think that it's kind of endemic to who we are. I think the ability to communicate with the viewers are really important, and is actually part of how we're doing the show, right? It'll be interactive. So that interactivity, I think, is important to us, and frankly, it's important to the audience and our community. I think that's actually one of the challenges that that traditional content has is. This new generation wants the interactivity. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to actually comment, influence, do something, so traditional media just kind of comes at you, and the type of content that we do is much more interactive, and it's what resonates with our community. And
do you yourselves produce that, or are you working with a third party to create that?
We're doing it, and we're working with a production company. But we've got some, a killer in-house team. We a year and a half ago poached the NFL's head of content, Bill McCullough, who runs content for us. And
do other esports ventures look at you and say, "Wow, that's really good. Could you produce it for us? Would you do it?"
We've not had those conversations yet. It's actually interesting. I've never thought about it. I think maybe at some point it happens, but I think there's probably too much of that competitive spirit where I don't know that we're quite there. It's like, asking, the Lakers to produce something for the Bulls probably wouldn't happen.
What about for a brand?
For brands, we do that all the time, right? Like for brands, we do some bespoke branded content, although we're looking to move more away from that and build out our slate and kind of present that to brands for them to participate in what we're doing. And it goes back to, look, we know how to connect with this audience. It's one of the most important. When I talk to people from our sales team, like what I've always said is, we really sell kind of 3 things there. We sell the affinity with the brand, we sell our reach, but we also sell our knowledge in how to effectively communicate with this audience. And if you don't put that third piece in, you're not going to have the same level of success leveraging the first 2 things.
Can we talk quickly in our last few moments about celebrities? You just add Snoop Dogg to your board.
Yes, we do.
Like, how does that work? Do you call Snoop Dogg and say, like, come be on my board? Does he call you?
So happens to be our chief strategy officer, Kai Henry, has a long relationship with Snoop. He was part of his management team early on in his career. And it's actually been something that's been growing organically in the background. It resulted in what people have seen, recently, but the conversation with Snoop, his son Cordell, and his camp has been going on for quite some time. Snoop he's like the OG gamer. Like he's like the original internet kid. Like that guy really cares about gaming. I mean, the stories about he's got game consoles on his rider for shows and for for appearances in his own tour. And he said that when he's pulled up sometimes and they don't have it, and he splits if they don't have that. And so that's how important it is for him. And so he really understood what FaZe Clan is doing. And also, he's been the master of kind of evolving his career by being tapped into what's happening, right? So, and when you sit with him and you talk to him about kind of culture largely, what he's doing, and then the level of understanding that he has about what FaZe is doing and what we represent in the culture, it's unbelievable. And so, it's been, again, it's really been an organic build. And I think it's also why, it's even from the beginning starting to feel like it's working so well.
Snoop is such an interesting example. Are there other examples of celebrities who get FaZe, rep FaZe, love it without you having to reach out to them?
Oh yeah, we see it all the time. Like we'll see a lot of athletes wearing FaZe stuff. You'll see it in their posts. You'll see it. We've seen big athletes kind of show up to their interviews, rocking a FaZe hoodie. It's because we're really enmeshed in the scene, and also, big athletes now, like take one of our FaZe members, take Kyler Murray, right, a quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. Like, he grew up watching FaZe. Like, one of the most astounding things that I saw was, I think in the interview that he gave when we announced that he was joining FaZe, is that he said his greatest achievement was getting to FaZe, which was kind of blew my mind. And then I'll give you another example of another kind of celebrity FaZe member, Bronny James, LeBron's son. The way that happened is we saw a post. He posted a reel or a TikTok, and it's him in his bedroom, and on his wall he's got not one but 2 framed FaZe jerseys in his bedroom. And so Apex, one of our original founders, kind of hit him up, DM. They started gaming together. They started building a relationship, and fast forward, I don't know, a year or so later, Bronny's in FaZe. Bronny's on the cover of Sports Illustrated with some of our other guys, and it's like, again, we're these things work when they're organic. If they're not organic, it's not going to work. Like, it's not. We don't have the appetite, and nor would it make sense for us to go chase somebody just for the clout or the moment. It's otherwise it falls flat, and nothing will come of it.
Last question for you, as we're running out of time. So much about what we're talking about is authenticity, like being a brand, being a personality, and we've talked so much about FaZe, we've not talked about you.
Oh.
So let's pretend we're going right now, all of us, to the bar after this panel, and I ask, what's going on in your life? How are you? What's your answer?
What's going on in my life is FaZe Clan, kind of 24/7 FaZe. I mean, is really it. But look, I feel privileged to be in the role. I feel a true responsibility to what the guys, what my other founders have created in this brand and the community. And it's hard. It is not easy. There's not one person at FaZe Clan having easy days. It's hard, but it's also thrilling. And I benefit because I spent my whole career in the music business really working with artists and helping to break artists and developing artists. It's what I recognized in FaZe when I started getting involved, originally as an advisor. Like, when I got up close to FaZe, what I saw was something different than than most of other people in the world, especially people kind of my generation that didn't see. Like, what I saw is something that resonated on the same level as the biggest and most important artists I've ever worked with, and it had that same thing. If anything, it eclipsed it. The passion of the fan base, how FaZe mattered to our community was, again, was emblematic of the most significant artists I've ever worked with, and I've had the privilege of working with a lot of great artists and even helping to develop them. And so, for me, it's a again, I mean, it sounds like hyperbole, but I feel privileged to, and I feel a true responsibility to do the right thing by the brand and the community. Obviously, we're running a business too, and sometimes there's tension with that. But again, that's the same thing as like when you're a growing band and you're going from small to playing stadiums or arenas. There's tension in that too. But there's a way to walk that tightrope and respect the things that your community respects and make sure that you super serve them and you know that they matter while you continue to build a robust business.
I love that answer because I asked you to talk about yourself, but instead all you talked about was FaZe, which tells a lot about you. Quickly, my name is Sara. I'm a reporter with Axios. We write really short content in bullet points to make it easier to understand. So I figured I'd just leave you off with a few bullet points of the things I thought were really interesting today. Nearly a 12-year-old brand, but the business is about 4 years old, which I think is really interesting. Built the brand before the business. Gaming as an entertainment platform is actually more popular and a bigger business than just gaming itself. Think about the Harlem Globetrotters being more famous, impactful than the Lakers. I like the comparison to hip hop. People didn't know whether to take it seriously until they did. Sponsorship revenue, a huge core, but you're also moving into things like retail, et cetera, exploring some new shows while still holding that IP close to the vest. The SPAC is coming up. Congratulations. The exciting thing about the SPAC is you get to talk about the long-term opportunity about your business, which is important, educating Wall Street about esports. M&A is something you're eyeing, including consumer products, maybe some gaming assets. You love Web3. There's a lot of opportunity to get rid of that middleman in Web3, which is exciting. And then I loved what we were just talking about with the driver's license. The seminal moment for Gen Z is getting the phone, and I never thought about it that way. So Lee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure,
and everyone go follow Lee on all the social platforms and FaZe.